Okay, audio and video fine. Thanks everyone for the feedback. Brief introduction about myself. I'm StarWind Virtual SAN Product Manager. Previously worked in this company for more than 8 years already at quality assurance and technical support. So I know some stuff about the product. Cannot say that I know everything, but a little more than average co-workers here. And before I worked in IT as well, which gives us a little more than 10 years of professional IT experience. And I'm also hosting StarWind webinar series. So, our brief agenda for today. First, everyone who attended this webinar or registered for this webinar now has a chance to win a full Microsoft Ignite pass, and we'll announce the winner on 20th of April. So just to give you some time to buy the tickets to Chicago, where this event is hosted this year. Now, as to our agenda regarding scale out, first we'll talk about ways of actually growing your IT infrastructure. And then we'll see, while scale up, little of a spoiler, is not an option or not an only option, that depends. Then we'll talk about scale out and possible scale out caveats, and conclude with StarWind Virtual SAN scale out and what makes it so different compared to most scale out players on the market. And of course we'll have a Q&A session. I'll gladly answer all your questions. So, as you know, in a virtualized world and non-virtualized world, there are always two ways to grow, two major ways. One is to scale up, basically add resources to your existing server, pack more CPUs, get more RAM, get more NICs into it, get more disks, more controllers. So just build it like a tower. And there is scale out. Scale out is more about adding similar nodes to the environment and simply building more compute power by adding a similar unit into your IT environment. Both are viable options, both have their pros and cons, but today we're more focused on scale out, because scale up in the modern virtualization world is slowly evicting itself as a single model for growing your IT infrastructure. And here's why. With scale up, we have these red lines which show our limitation with one server. So you can intensively upgrade a single unit only to a certain point. You always reach your storage base limit. You can add more storage by adding an expansion shelf, of course, but eventually you'll just run out of PCI ports to support that. So unless you daisy chain all the storage units, there is no much growth in there. Also, you can scale performance and you can upgrade the system here and there, add more RAM, add more CPUs, like change CPUs within a series, but then Intel releases a new socket, AMD releases a new socket, and you still reach a performance limit for your box. So this is an effective way of scaling, but it is highly limited. And instead, if we go with an alternative way, that will be scale out. However, scale out in its traditional form has some caveats. Now, scale out is quite flexible. It kills all the limitations we had with scale up, so we can just add another server and don't really think about getting more resources from a single box, because we don't think about components anymore. We actually think about our servers, and should one server go out of service, we simply replace that one. So we do not rely all our applications on just one server. Now, scale-out has certain caveats. There are a lot of platforms these days offering scale-out architectures, a lot of solutions saying they are scale-out oriented. However, when you are picking the scale-out platform, it is really important not to fall into these caveats. So first one, which is quite popular these days, is that the minimum configuration you can build starts with 3 servers. You can technically go with 1, but you will not have any fault tolerance. But the minimum viable configuration for a robust and resilient production environment starts with 3 servers. So that may be a little high entry point for some of the SMBs as well for remote and branch offices, or that may simply be above your needs. So if you have, let's say, 20 virtual machines, you can easily place them on 2 servers, and you don't really need 3 servers. You don't really need to service all these 3 servers. Now, another widespread caveat of scale-out is to get a hardware vendor lock-in. So you can go buy a certain server, and then whenever you try to get anything else into the configuration, you realize you cannot do that because this particular scale-out platform is only working with a certain hardware vendor. And first, they do not support it. Second, it's not of their business interest to actually support someone else's hardware. So if they're working with major hardware market players, they will only work with 1 server brand. And there is frankly no way you can shift and say, okay guys, I have 5 servers from you working with all spindles, but now I need an all-flash array added to my environment to boost the performance. And the vendor just says, okay, we cannot offer you an all-flash array, but you can get 5 more servers to get that performance. So not really something you want to do. And of course, there is hardware configuration lock-in, like I mentioned just a second ago. The servers, which are the actual platform of your scale-out IT infrastructure, have a particular configuration. So let's say they have 64 gigabytes of memory, they have 2 10-core CPUs, some hard drives and some SSDs in it. And that's basically it. They are tailored to deliver certain performance, and they are the minimum building block. So you cannot really change that configuration. And if you want to run one more application in your production environment and you don't have sufficient resources, I really apologize. Excuse me for that. Looks like Outlook has an external plugin making these notifications. Let me just quick kill it and we will return to the presentation. Okay, I apologize for that. So there is no way you can flexibly scale your infrastructure. So if you just need more disk space added to your configuration, you add more boxes. If you want more compute performance for your configuration, you add more boxes. And there is no way to add, let's say, a storage intensive server which would keep your backups in the scale-out IT infrastructure, or there is no way to get a compute-only server which will use other server storage but really don't have its own storage or have a tiny disk for the operating system. So not having these options is kind of awkward in a flexible IT environment, and it may not be an easy task to justify a purchase of a new server to your management, because initially all the solutions were marketed as highly flexible and you can add more storage, you can add more compute, and you can scale out freely and flexibly. But then once you're in that, it can become quite a pain. So I prepared a little poll in our webinar and just wanted to check, how are you currently growing your IT infrastructure? So just launched the poll, and I would be really interested in finding out, how are you currently growing or planning to grow? If you have this in mind, you can also answer, okay, I'm planning on just upgrading, or I'm planning on just adding more servers. Okay. %37 voted. 45%. %55%. Come on. Just half of people voted. Everyone's interested. What are the trends in IT? How are people going to manage the infrastructures? 69, 72. Come on, let's get to 80. At least. Okay, 78. Okay, 81. Excellent. Good. So let me announce the results for you. So as we see, 27%, just 27% are upgrading their servers and storage. So just do an intensive upgrade and don't scale. 41% is adding more servers and storage to their actual production environment to split the load, to make it more balanced and to get more resilience. 23% decided, okay, I'm fed up with all these servers thing and I'm moving my IT environment to the cloud. Yep, I don't blame you. That's a smart decision. And 9% say that their IT environment doesn't scale, or at least they don't have that issue now. But as we see, most of our attendees, 41%, say that we are adding more servers because that's an easier way to scale compared to old-fashioned scale-up. Some of them may be combining these options if they have an option to do so. But as we've seen here, a lot of scale-out platforms people currently use in their environments are really locked. So the pre-certified servers, the pre-built platforms for scale-out often support a really narrow range of hardware units, and that often becomes an issue. Now, what's different with StarWind scale-out? You might want to ask. And here's how StarWind is different. First of all, StarWind offers complete fault tolerance with just 2 servers. So we do not require a 3rd server in the configuration or a 4th server, like some vendors actually market their solution. If you need a resilient and fault-tolerant production environment, you purchase 2 servers, install StarWind on it, install hypervisor of your choice, and run. And That's all you need to do. Your production environment is secure. If one server fails, the other one continues running, and that's it. Then there is no hardware vendor lock-in. You can pick any brand of your choice. Some of us are Dell shops, some of us are HP shops, some of us are Supermicro shops. That's all a long route from scale-up world and from non-virtualized applications. So it's completely okay to choose certain brand just because you have good history with that brand, you like that hardware, it's easy to install, those server brackets are better than the other server brackets, whatever. It's simply a choice you can make and you're not limited in it. Then there is no hardware configuration lock-in. So once you pick the servers you like, you can upgrade them as you like, you can pick their particular configuration and say you start with just 2 servers with StarWind Virtual SAN. And that does not necessarily mean you need 2 top-packed servers with 16-core CPUs, 1 terabyte of memory, and all flash arrays. No. You can start with a simple box with just, let's say, 6-core CPUs, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and 4 SATA drives. Maybe that's enough for your infrastructure, so why bother buying equipment which doesn't fit the job? I mean, it's too expensive and too fast for the environment you want to make. So you just buy what you need, install StarWind, and you're set. Then once you scale, you add more servers to your configuration. You can also modify the servers you are adding. So let's say next year you're planning a big video surveillance project and you know that your existing infrastructure simply doesn't have enough storage. So you added a server with a lot of SATA drives and install the CCTV application and point it to that storage. And there you go. You don't need to make a heterogeneous mix in your scale-out environment. You still use the brands you like, you still use the same virtualization platform, you still use the same storage platform, and you are not really concerned about getting something non-standard or non-traditional in your IT environment, because everyone's needs are individual and there is no one-size-fits-all even in a scale-out world. And we already have some questions, and I will gladly answer those during the questions and answer session at the end of the webinar. But I will quick check with just to see. Okay. Yeah, some questions I'll be covering within the next slide, so please stay tuned. Now, before we go further, I would also like to know one thing about your current scale-out concerns, because everyone can talk about success stories, but we want to know what we need to avoid and what are the particular issues we need to address before actually starting to scale out and before going to that configuration. So let me launch our next poll. So what are your current concerns with scale-out? What prevents you from successfully implementing it, or what is your concern with your existing scale-out platform? Or let's say you're planning a scale-out platform and you cannot really pick one because I like this one but it doesn't scale beyond 10 servers, or I like another but that's too vendor tied. Come on. Also, I added an other choice. So if you select other, you can drop your answer to questions box and we will discuss it. Okay, 50% voted. Come on. Come on, gentlemen, we're not voting for a constitution amendment. Feel relaxed. 60, 70, okay. Maybe some people want to vote? No? Anyone else? 77%. Okay. We nearly have the majority. 80. Okay, and I did not whip the votes. 80. Anyone else? Okay, we got 20% of unattentive customers who don't really take process in the webinar. Okay. So, let me close the poll and actually share the results with you. So current concerns with scale-out. 25% of our audience say it's expensive. Yeah, in some cases it is expensive. Then 21% say that it's tied to a particular hypervisor. Indeed, a lot of the platforms are tied to a certain hypervisor like they are tied to a certain hardware, because that minimizes the amount of support job for their engineers. And until they have developed, that's how it is. Then 33%, the biggest part of our audience, thinks and is concerned that scale-out platform of their choice requires a lot of hardware to start. So remember when we told 3 servers and 4 servers, so 33% actually think that 3 servers is a lot. So basically, that's it. And just another audio check. Please give me a brief feedback because my internet just blimped, and I want to double check if everyone is hearing me fine. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So now, there were 8% of people who responded that there is another reason for them to be concerned with scale-out. And I would really appreciate if these 8% tell us what their concern is. So we just quickly go through that during the event. Okay, and I'm not actually considering taking too long waiting for people to vote as a scale-out concern, if you don't mind. Okay. Mr. Justin is concerned with hardware compatibility and reliability for failover. So that's one of the things to be concerned. But I would say that this is not a huge concern. A lot of the platforms are pre-certified, so that's completely okay. All right. Thanks everyone for voting, and we're moving on. Pardon. So StarWind scale-out is completely hardware agnostic. In addition to the benefits I mentioned on the previous page, like being not locked to a particular hardware vendor or a configuration, StarWind is also hypervisor agnostic. So you can start with any hypervisor of your choice, then add StarWind Virtual SEN and run your applications with just 2 nodes. And then once you need to scale, you simply add one more server and point StarWind to replicate data there, and point your hypervisor to be added to the unified resource pool. And of course, balance your applications or add more applications to the scale-out configuration. Now, this also includes scaling non-linearly. So you can scale compute nodes and you can scale the storage nodes. There is no need to add an exactly same node to your configuration. You can add a node with multiple CPUs, high number of cores and high number of RAM, but use the storage you have on the first and second node, or fifth and sixth node of your cluster. And keep in mind, this configuration is really scalable. We are not limited with just 64 servers. We can go beyond 64, but who knows? Maybe one day when Hyper-V drops the 64 node per cluster limit, that may be an easier scale-out platform. So that's basically it. This is how we get an easy to use, a robust scale-out platform without any lock-ins and caveats. Essentially, building the base layer of this platform only requires 2 industry standard servers with hypervisor of your choice and StarWind Virtual SEN. So let's say you pick 2 simple tower servers, connect them with dedicated networking, and you're ready to go. Now, it's time for your questions, because a lot of people had questions regarding StarWind, and I want to answer all of those. And a lot of people mentioned their interest in scale-out platform by StarWind. So let me reopen the questions panel. Okay, so first question is StarWind a hyper-converged solution? Do you run your virtual SEN as a VM or on the same physical server as the virtual SEN? StarWind can do both. With Hyper-V, StarWind runs inside the parent partition. So we are in the hypervisor, and with vSphere and other hypervisors, StarWind runs as a virtual machine on top of the hypervisor. Then, one more question is, does StarWind work with all hypervisors? Indeed, we work with all major hypervisors. There are no real limitations in those terms. One more question is, what kind of throughput can we expect from the virtual SEN? That really depends on the hardware you pick. So you can start with a simple server with 1 gigabit networking. In this case, you can expect up to, let's say, 1,000 IOPS if you're using just SAS or SATA drives, or you can go all the way up to 33,000 IOPS or 30,000 IOPS. I'm not sure what was the actual limit of gigabit networking if you use PCIe SSD cards and 1 gigabit. Then if you use bigger servers and your storage is fast enough, you can use 10 gigabit networking, or you can use 40 gigabit networking. two customers from the top of my head who already use aggregated 40 gigabit, and their total throughput is 80 gigabit per second on the synchronization links. And the storage is a mixture of PCIe SSD cards, SAS SSDs, and 15K SAS. So that really depends on the hardware you pick. Okay, another question is, what server brand should I use? I would say the server brand you like. So currently we only have a reference architecture for Dell R730 and R730XD. We have also started working on other vendors' reference architectures, but effectively StarWind can be installed on any server. So you just contact our sales, check what are your requirements to the production environment, check the performance you need, and tell us which hardware you would like to use. And then our engineers will help you with particular server models or hardware configurations of a particular server. Okay, and one more question is, does StarWind need 10 gigabit switches? Actually, StarWind doesn't need 10 gigabit switches in the starting point, and up to 3 servers we don't need any 10 gigabit switching. We can just use direct connections between the servers for interconnects, and there is no need for dedicated network switching for that. As you grow beyond 3 servers, yes, 10 gigabit switching is inevitable, but with just 2 servers you can use direct connections, or if your load is not high you can simply use 1 gigabit between the servers. Okay, and with that I would like to thank everyone for attending our today's event. I hope it was interesting and you learned something new today. And should you have any questions, you can contact our sales department, or you can simply download StarWind Virtual SAN Trial and play with it in your virtual lab, install it, look how it feels and how easy it is to configure a virtual SAN in your environment. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.